This is my independent reading book. It's called Unwind by Neil Schusterman. Yes. And it's about, so basically, in this book, in a different future, when you turn ages 13 through 18, your parents can choose to have you unwound, which means that they basically can sell your body parts. It's pretty messed up. But it's not killing you because it's like living in the divided state. So, 3 to 4 main characters. Connor is the first main character. Connor was unwound because of his bad temper. He is very impulsive and does things without thinking. He gets into a lot of fights, but is discovered to be very loving and caring. Some direct characterization is on page 143. It says, "He'd been in half a dozen fights already. She knows this must be why his parents chose to have him unwound. A firestorm temper can drive some parents to desperate measures." Risa is the second main character. Risa was born in an Ohio state home, which means that the government owned her. Risa is very smart and thinks things through thoroughly, so she and Connor make a good team. So, she's very artsy and has mastered the piano. The government had her unwound because there wasn't enough room in her orphanage. Lev is the third main character. He has a very religious family. The Bible says that everyone should give 10% of everything they own. Lev, being the 10th child, was born a tithe. A tithe means that before he was born, he was chosen to be unwound. He was raised to believe that he was special and heroic, and he always knew his life's perfect. Throughout the book, though, he faces a lot of internal conflicts on whether or not unwinding really was his life's perfect. Some indirect characterization on page 42 for Lev. It says, "It's no use trying to explain to this godless pair what tithing is all about. How giving of oneself is the ultimate blessing. They never understand our care. Save him? They haven't saved him. They've damned him." Okay, number 3, setting, time and place. So the book takes place in the far future, in a different future, after the Second Civil War. The book starts off in Ohio, and their adventure leads them to the graveyard, which is in Arizona, and then to Happy Jack Harvest Camp, which is in Indiana. So they've traveled a lot. Major conflicts. The most major conflict was staying alive and staying away from the police till they turn 18, obviously. And so yeah, that's the major conflict throughout the book. The plot line. Exposition. So, the exposition in the book says, Connor finally figures out that his parents signed the unwind order and he decides to run away. Risa was riding the bus to be unwound, and Lev was driving in his car to get unwound. Connor, attempting to get away from the police, because the police eventually found him when he ran away, he ran across the intersection and they all got in a big car crash, so Risa, Lev, and Connor all escaped together. A conflict in the book is, throughout the book, they were trying to stay alive and and they'd faced internal and external conflicts. So Connor and Risa faced the challenge of staying alive and away from the police, and Lev was facing a lot of internal conflicts about whether or not unwinding was his life's perfect purpose. The main events, from the beginning to end. The first main event is them meeting and running away. Next, Lev gets separated from Connor and Risa. Lev meets Sci-Fi, who makes him question everything he's been told. Connor and Risa are passed between shelter to shelter, kind of like the Underground Railroad. Finally, they reach their final destination, the graveyard, where they meet Lev again. The graveyard is a safe place where unwinds can hide until the leader had a heart attack and they had to take him to the hospital. Risa, Connor, and Lev all go to Happy Jack Harvest Camp, which is where they unwind. The unwinds. Yeah. Okay, so the climax of the story is when clappers. Okay, first of all, let me explain what clappers are. So basically, clappers are terrorists. They turn their blood into this chemical compound that makes their blood explosive, and they clap their hands to detonate, and they blow up, basically. It's pretty messed up. So yeah, the climax of the story is when clappers blow up the chop shop at the Happy Jack Harvest Camp, and it cost Risa and Connor and Lev a lot of losses and stuff, but they didn't get unwound, so that's pretty great. The chop shop is where they get unwound. That's what they call it. And the resolution, the story ends with Connor being the new admiral of the graveyard, and Risa is back at the graveyard with Connor, and Leaf is in contamination because he was a clapper. It's complicated. Yeah, he was a clapper, so he's in contamination now. And if you want a visual aid, here it is. So this is the start, Exposition 1. This is the conflicts. This is main events, then up to the climax, and then down to the resolution. Okay, and then the theme statement of this book is life, consciousness, and existence. So throughout the book, the main characters are always questioning and thinking about whether unwinding was for the better or for the worse. They are asked deep, meaningful questions. For example, so some questions that they are actually asked are if they would rather die or be unwound, and where does your soul go when you get unwound, if you even had one in the first ways. And like the readers are also have to think and are thinking and wondering about this. So it's theme, and it's pretty deep stuff. Just warning you guys. Warning. Deep stuff. Okay. So next, my opinion of the book. So my favorite part of the book is like towards the end of the book, Roland, which is another character, he gets unwound, and it actually explains it. And I'll read a little passage. So it starts. Where's the clock? Says one of the surgeons. 2 hours, 33 minutes. We're running late. Not quite in darkness, just an absence of light. Here's everything's around him, but can no longer communicate. Another team has entered. You'll feel a tingling in your scalp, says one of the surgeons. It's nothing to worry about. It's the last thing they talk to him. After that, the doctors act like Roland is no longer there. Did you see yesterday's game? Heartbreaker. Splitting the corpus callosum. Nice technique. Well, it's not brain surgery. Laughter all around. And that can be found on page 292. Next is my least favorite part of the book. My least favorite part is the character Roland, because he's like really annoying and like he ruins a lot of things for the main characters. Although without him, it would be a lot less interesting. So there's positives and negatives, you know. Okay, next is the genre of the book. And do I normally read this genre? The genre of the book is dystopian fiction. I do enjoy reading this genre and tend to read it more often than not, because it interested me. And did this book meet my expectations? Yes, it did. I was very excited to read this book after reading the back cover, and it totally met my expectations. It was action-packed, and there wasn't a chapter of the book that was boring, like not a single chapter. Next, would I recommend this book to anyone? Would I rate it 0 to 10, and do I want to warn about you guys to anything? Yes, I would recommend this book. It was very fun to read, and it's perfect if you want to relax and like just read a fun book. And I would rate it 10 out of 10. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Because it was just that good. It was that good, yeah. And I would like to warn my classmates, though, that it was kind of dark, but that's probably why I found it interesting, because like there's some messed up stuff in that book. Just warning you guys, like it's kind of messed up. Number 6, what are your thoughts about independent reading after this book? After I read this book, like I'm just really interested in reading independently now. Like I could read a lot more now that I've read this book, because it was really good, and I want to read more books like this because it was just that good. Like 10 out of 10. Like if I can find another book just like this one, I would totally read it, because it was really fun to read, and yeah, it wasn't boring, you know? So anyway, this is the end of my book report. Signing off. Good read. Good read.